Lightning Creek say they have never seen the kind of flooding they've seen not just once but twice this week. And now they're asking if the city did enough to try to prevent it. News 9's John Jordan is following this developing story for us. John, update us.
Well, Kelly, where I'm standing looks just like a giant valley, but what the city says this is called a detention pond. They built these when they widened the creek so that if the creek were to take on too much water, overflow, that the water would have a place to go, a place to build up. Unfortunately, when they designed these ponds, it was designed to withstand 100-year floods. Unfortunately, they say the rain we've gotten over the last few days resembles something more like a 500-year flood.
You know, for people like us who work for a living and, you know, make it payday to payday, we don't have the kind of money it takes to fix this house.
Laquita Idlet is frustrated because her home, which sits along Lightning Creek, flooded when the creek overflowed. The rushing water even peeled away the side of her garage. Unfortunately for Idlet, she assumed when the city came in over a decade ago to begin widening the creek to prevent future flooding, that her home was safe.
We fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker.
You can't design for these types of events.
Laura Story with Oklahoma City's engineering department reviewed and signed off on the widening plans for the creek. Story says her heart goes out to those who suffered flood damage, but says the city did all they could.
This is an extraordinary event, and it is not something that you would normally or regularly consider to design to. It far exceeds what we would normally consider good practice for design.
Some of the things Story says the city did included laying concrete to not only widen the creek but channel the water, an effort homeowners like Idlet appreciate, but at the same time wish the city would have done more of. Fortunately now what city leaders are left with is flooding that has eroded portions of the creek, forcing city crews to close off certain areas.
They just did the best they could at the time. They thought they were doing the right thing at the time. And it just, you know, it didn't work.
And despite living right along Lightning Creek, Idlet tells me she was told she was not in a floodplain, meaning, Kelly, she did not have flood insurance, and unfortunately for her that means any damage to her home is going to come out of her pocket.
Yeah.
Kelly?
Well, it's tough. Very few people do have that flood insurance. All right, John. The city tells us before they widened Lightning Creek, it was barely equipped to handle a 50-year flood.